What's up, baseball world? Welcome along to another edition of Jay's Talk with Jay. It's Saturday, yesterday was Friday, first game of a 3-game series, and we took game one, back-to-back wins for the Jays. And I thought, how better to start the weekend than getting someone on from Blue Jay Centre. Today we've got Rob. Rob, how you doing?
Jay, I'm doing quite exquisite now that I'm on here with you.
Such a gentleman, and we've done this twice. It's the second podcast where I've not pushed record on my guest. Bang.
It's all good. Well, at least we're here and getting some Jays talk. Always a good thing.
It is, man. Like I said, back-to-back wins. We haven't seen that for a while. It's definitely haven't happened often this season. A great win last night against Tampa Bay. I don't think I was expecting us to beat them, but boy, we managed to knock Glasnow out near enough in the first inning. And after that, it was just a case of keeping it tight and not giving up too much.
Yeah, absolutely. When you face a guy like Glasnow, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the MLB StatCast percentile chart. You see guys who they're kind of color-coded by their performance. So you have a high Ks per nine, low walks per nine. It's kind of color-coded in red. And Glasnow's chart coming into yesterday was just a full sea of red. And it's like, wow, it's going to be a tough matchup. But when you face a guy like that, you're only going to have so many opportunities. And 2 outs in the first inning, they got to him. Semien gets the big hit. And then after that, you mentioned, it was just keeping it close. Matt's turned a solid outing, and the bullpen took it home.
Yeah, it was strange because obviously for me in the UK, it was quite late. It's been a long week, and I sat there, and then he strikes out. He strikes out Kevin. I think it was 95, 97, 98 in that order, and I was like, "Oh man, this is going to be a long night."
To lead off the game.
It's going to be a long night. Yeah, to lead off the game, first 3 pitches, gets him on a strikeout. The velocity was going up and up and up, and I just thought, oh, we're in trouble today. And then obviously Bo came in, and and they said it on the commentary on the TV. Even though Bo, it was an out and he struck out, he really battled him.
Yep.
And I think that's what led to like Vladdy coming in. Vladdy just seems to be hitting anything at the moment. I don't think we can sing his praises anymore. But I think from the moment Vladdy came to the plate and he got that hit, and then Rowdy was like this close from hitting it out of the park. Like it was tight, but I thought it had gone.
Yeah, I thought it was gone as well. It was kind of a short swing on that 99 mile per hour four-seam fastball. And Rowdy, he's got as much raw power as anyone on the team. Hits that ball off the wall, and Vladdy with 2 outs running on the pitch, able to come in. That was the catalyst of that inning because after that, Glasnow just really couldn't find a feel for the slider. Not a lot of swings and misses on it. I believe the next batter was Grichuk. He walked him on 4 pitches, and then that opened the door for Semien to hit that ball, which was the drive of the game, really.
Yeah, we talk about Semien. That's 2 games now where he's not been leading off.
Yep.
He's looked good.
Yeah.
He's looked good. I think it's a position that suits him a bit further down the order. And that's what we were looking at. We were looking at expanding our lineup. We've always been a lineup that had maybe 1 to 5, possibly 1 to 6. I think we go down it now. We take Danny Jansen out of the equation. I think 1 to 8 is pretty strong.
And that's not even to mention that we don't even have our prized possession, who could be coming back tomorrow. I know you have a bit of a nugget there. You said that you have a feeling he could be in the lineup tonight. We'll see how that goes. And Teoscar, we know he's coming back soon. So 1 to 8 already looks solid yesterday, especially when we had 2 big sluggers like that. I mean, the sky's the limit for this lineup.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Teoscar coming back, and that they said Sunday for Teoscar definitely, right? I think that's what that's looking like.
Yeah.
So he comes back into the lineup without doubt.
Yeah.
He probably go 0 for 4 on his first game. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
He's going to be back in the lineup, and I think that's what we need to be concentrating on more. Springer coming back, we were chatting before we started recording, and I think that with him going 1 for 4, and then he did 3 extra plate appearances by the sounds of things, which says to me that he possibly plays tonight. Now, if he does play tonight, what we get from him, who knows?
Yeah.
I still predicted that he will hit a home run on his first at-bat.
Really?
So I'm sticking to that. Yeah, that's what I've predicted. I don't know why. I get these stupid ideas. I kind of roll with them until I look stupid after it doesn't happen. But I think that he if he comes back today and he starts, you're right. Our lineup looks strong. First of all, who goes? Now, can you all shut up? I don't want to hear Kevin goes because let's face it, Springer's not going to play in his position and neither's Teoscar, so we have to be real here. You bring Teoscar and Springer back into the equation. Nobody's dropping Randall Grichuk.
No.
That's not happening.
Yeah.
So someone's losing out somewhere. I'm not sure who it is. I think Rowdy's starting to come round. I think he becomes DH.
Yeah.
Or first. Vladdy. For me, you don't take Vladdy or first at the moment. I think he's playing so well there that you'd be stupid to lose one of your best infielders at the moment.
Right.
So I'm not sure how that works, but the lineup's expanded. We've probably got now 10 players. We can only use 9. So what's your thoughts? Where do we go?
So to me, I think, are you talking more about the everyday lineup or the roster, the 25-man roster?
I think the 25. Let's start with the 25-man roster because I think that there's going to be split opinions on this. I think a lot of us have liked Espinal and seen what he's done defensively. Can he do it with the bat? Remains to be seen. And then obviously in the outfield, everybody loves Jonathan Davis.
Yeah.
But it can't be sentimental, so you kind of have to weigh that up. And it's him or Palacios. They're not both staying. They could actually both go. Realistically, they could both go, only because of Cavin's versatility. So I think let's talk 25-man roster. I think that for me, I think you lose. I'm going to say it. I think Jonathan Davis is the one that goes at the moment.
I actually kind of disagree there. I think Palacios is probably the guy that you would send down. I think Jonathan Davis, the speed element, that is a big reason why they'd want to keep him. I also feel like Palacios, he's still 25. I'm not sure the story's out on him yet. Maybe they want to get him some more consistent at-bats. But with Jonathan Davis, he's 29. He's kind of a finished product at this point. I think he's a bench player. That's his ceiling. So maybe give Palacios more playing time and have Davis be the 4th outfielder or 5th outfielder and have that speed element, maybe in extra innings. He can be the artificial runner on second. I think that's kind of where they'd go. My prediction.
I did say the other day when I was talking with Sheldon that I felt that because of Davis's experience, it's probably why they would want to keep him around.
Yeah.
But now that you've said that about Palacios getting some playing time at the alternate site, that kind of makes sense. I kind of get that. Davis is used to sitting on the bench, so it's not going to make any difference to him.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And I think the other move would probably be a bullpen arm. I'm not sure who would be the first one to go. I think you'd want to keep Castro with the way he's pitching. Maybe Joel Payamps, he gets sent down. That's probably an easy move for them. But I would suspect definitely an outfielder, either Davis or Palacios, and if not both, and probably a bullpen arm. And my money's on Payamps going down.
Okay, that makes sense. So that's the easy part.
Yeah.
That's the easy part. We've done the easy part. Everyday starting lineup. Now, I'm torn. I've got to be honest. I'm torn because I think that we've played 18 games now. Is it 18 games?
19. We're 19. Yep.
Yeah. We've played 19 games. Is that enough to turn around and say, you're no good, we're sending you down, unless you're Tanner Rourke? I don't know how we do that. Like, not with Kevin anyway, because Kevin, I think if you're looking at the two players that concern me, I'm not concerned about Bo. Just want to put this out there. A lot of people have been talking about Bo. He's a liability in the field. His arm's not strong enough. He can't do this. People, last week you were saying that he was playing MVP quality. So I think you need to rein it back in a little bit and see the bigger picture here. He's a kid. He's played a handful of games. He hasn't even. I don't think he's even played 162 games yet. So he's not even played a real full season.
Yeah. 94, I believe, because he played 75 last year and 19 this year.
Yeah, so it's such a small sample size. So I think with Bo, let's take him out of the equation for the minute because I don't think it counts. I think the two players we're concerned about realistically are Kevin and Danny Jansen.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you got Kevin, you've got Danny Jansen. I'm gonna throw Espinal and Panic into the equation. I mentioned yesterday Blue Jay Centre set up a chat
Yeah.
on Instagram, and there was loads of fans in there, and third base came up, and I literally just wrote in there, third base is cursed. Joe Panic is a reliable infielder, and
Yeah.
even he made a mistake yesterday. The ball wasn't hit hard. It
Nope.
came more or less straight at him at a reasonable height. It went straight through him.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether there's some kind of hex going on and someone's done some kind of spell on third base, or I don't quite, or whether there's some mind games going on with the players. Like, I'm at third, I need to make an impression. Oh God, I've just made another mistake.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit worrying. But I'm going to throw them four players into the equation because I think that two of them play. Well, one of them play. I guess if we're talking about Danny Jansen as well, we have to throw Kirk in there.
Yep.
But we take Kirk straight out because if it's me that chooses, I have him behind the plate.
Yep. I agree. I think right now the only reason that Danny Jansen's on this roster is because your $80 million ace has a great rapport with him. You look at Ryu's stats, pitching to Danny Jansen, they've been excellent. You don't want to take that out of the equation. You're going to have him catch Ryu every fifth day. And what we've seen so far, Steven Matz, he's actually been catching Matz as well. So both of those pitchers, they've done well catching Danny Jansen catching them. I think we will see Kirk tonight with Ray on the mound. But yeah, Danny Jansen at this point, his batting average is in the low 50s. He's 1 for his last 35. He's unfortunately just not getting it done right now. I've been an advocate for him, but if you're not going to give any sort of production at the catching position, it's tough to be in the lineup, 3-4 times a week.
Rob,
Yeah.
just quickly, how old are you?
I'm 20.
Okay, so I'm 44. So combined, our age is 64.
Yeah.
That's better than
This is
Danny
batting
Jansen's average.
Yep. I said it the other day on our post-game feed. It's the age requirement for the first COVID vaccine was 65 and up, and his batting average wouldn't even qualify for that.
Yeah, it's shocking, and I like Danny. Like defensively, I don't think anyone can say anything, but it's not there.
No.
It's not there. Now, if we've got 1 to 8, and 1 to 8 are all performing, we can afford one out.
Of course, yeah, you can sustain.
But I don't think we can do that at the moment when we've got Lourdes not hitting regularly enough. Simeon's turning it round, so I'd like to think that hopefully we wouldn't be talking about him as a negative. And then obviously Cavin's in there and he's not hitting, so that kind of gives you 2.5 players that aren't batting. So then you're going to be relying on Springer to hit, or you're going to be relying on Bo, Vladdy, Randall, whoever's hitting at the top of the order. We have to rely, and we're not always going to get quality at-bats from all of these guys every at-bat.
Yeah, of course. It's baseball, after all. You're not going to get a quality at-bat every time. I also feel that a big reason why Cavan has struggled early on is because he's hitting out of position. When you look at so far, what is his espoused value to this team? It's he can take a walk, he can get on base, and he can be a versatile defender. And this season, he's kind of been locked in the middle of the order for the most part, and playing third base, a position where he's not used to playing. It's not his everyday position. So I think on both sides of the ball, he's been out of position. And for a guy who's got a great eye at the plate, hitting in the middle of the order is not necessarily as ideal because you're coming up with guys on. You know you're going to get challenged with that fastball. It's not going to be like in a leadoff spot or hitting in the bottom of the order. And when you're hitting in the middle of the order, you got to be able to hit the ball hard and not just necessarily take a walk because they're going to challenge you. And unfortunately, that's been his issue so far. It's kind of getting exposed, his ability to not hit the ball hard. And outside of taking a walk, it's been difficult for him to find ways to get on base.
You'll probably know better than me. What's his best position?
So right now, I think coming up, he was a second baseman throughout the minors. That's what he was when he initially came up. I feel like he's looked solid in a very small sample size. To me, I think he's just more of a utility player. I'm not sure he's got a specific position. He can play many positions at a solid rate. Obviously, third base, not so much at the start of this season, but to me, I could see him as kind of a Ben Zobrist type role where you don't know where he's playing, but he can be versatile. That's a big part of what the value that he brings.
So we won't talk defensively.
Yeah.
Offensively, he's struggling.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the issue. So, do we give him a buy because he's Mr. Versatile and he's not got a set position? We're basically saying he could play any position. He could probably even catch,
Yeah.
and he could probably even pitch if we had to. It's not like we've never seen infielders or outfielders pitch for the Jays before. So my point is do we give him a pass because he's going to be like, let's just say he doesn't start. Let's say he becomes that player where he's on the bench and he comes in to pinch hit, or he comes in because somebody gets injured. Would we prefer that than rather be like he sucks at third base? Like I'm trying to throw a positive on it because like he's one of the three amigos, right? He came like him, Bo, Vladdy. They've come up, and we kind of feel like we have an allegiance with these guys.
Yeah.
So should we be giving them a bit of slack rather than like that is rubbish?
So I think you made a good point there. I think the fact that he was kind of labeled in with the Vladdies and the Bo Bichettes, that's been a big issue for him because now the expectations they kind of raise. And like, there's no harm in thinking that you're not as good as Vladdy Guerrero or Bo Bichette, because the reality is that those guys, they're many expecting to carry a franchise. And Kevin Biggio, he could just be a solid secondary or tertiary player where it's kind of a role player role. I do feel like a pass could be given because, like I said, I think a big reason for his struggles is because he's been playing out of position. I feel like hitting him in the bottom of the order or either leading off when Springer is not playing, that's his ideal position because that is where he can really put his value to work, where he can take pitches, get on base, take a walk, and turn the lineup over for the big guys. I think middle of the order is going to be tough for him unless he kind of finds a way to catch up to those fastballs and start making some more solid contact.
So are we giving Danny Jansen a pass as well then?
Again, I think the reason why is because you look at the options. And I think with Danny Jansen, it's a lot tougher to replace the catcher, especially when you don't have a short-term solution coming up in-house, whether it's Riley Adams, that's kind of the name that you're hearing in terms of the pipelines. Alejandro Kirk, a lot of people expect him to be the catcher of the future, and he's not here to be a backup. So I feel like him continuing to hit, and I'll put it out there, I think Alejandro Kirk has been a better defensive catcher than I initially thought. I don't know how you've kind of seen him play this year, but to me, he's been a little better than I thought coming in.
I'll be totally honest.
Yeah.
I don't think he's played badly.
Yeah.
Like I think if you put them up against each other, I think that maybe throwing out runners, maybe Jansen leads that just a little bit.
Yeah, but at the same time, throwing out runners, it's a lot has to do with the pitcher as well. Their ability to keep runners on base. You remember opening day when Romano was pitching and he just had the tunnel vision, just looked directly at the plate, and I believe it was Tachman on the Yankees who just stole bags easily. That's not on Danny Jansen. That's a big part of it has to do with the pitcher as well.
No, but I'm more thinking the arm accuracy more than anything else. But just talking about arm accuracy, how good was Guriel's throw yesterday?
Oh yeah,
like that was on the money. Like he throws it anywhere else, the guy scores.
Yeah, I feel like when watching the play again, I don't think Yandy Diaz, the runner for the Rays, I believe he stuttered a bit. Am I right by saying that? Yeah, he stuttered a little bit.
Yeah.
And that opened the door for Guriel. But look, when an opponent makes a mental mistake like that, you have to take advantage of it. And he did. That throw could not have been any more perfect. It was a one-hopper right to Jansen, tag, out. And that was a big because I don't know about you, but we've seen games at Tropicana Field when you don't take advantage of the opportunities you're given, you're going to pay for it in that stadium. It's a house of horrors.
I hate playing Tampa Bay.
Me too.
I'll put it out. I put it out there. They're the one team when I see it come up on the schedule, and I'm like, we might win one.
Yeah. No,
it's never even that many. So
yeah, it's playing at Tampa. You mentioned that's where the real hex comes in. He said third base is a hex. I think Tampa Bay in general is a hex. But when you take advantage of the opportunities they did yesterday, that was big. You put up a 4 spot against a guy who the season ended today, and obviously it doesn't. He would have been the Cy Young, hands down. You put up 4 against him. You want to go out there and throw a 0 right in the second half of the inning, and that throw was the catalyst for putting up a 0 in that inning for Mats.
Does it concern you a little bit? And I've spoke about this a few times over the last couple of weeks. Does it concern you that the bats look really streaky though? Like we didn't have like the amount of hits that we had yesterday. Literally all came in the first inning. Like there wasn't much happening after that. We can't solely be reliable on Stephen Matz to continuously throw like he's a Cy Young candidate, like because that's what he's doing at the moment, right?
Yep, of course.
I just don't like. Okay, Glasnow and Matz, they both gave up 3-run home runs.
Yep.
But apart from that, they were both pretty solid.
Yeah. If you just take away that one inning where they gave up the 3-run home run, they looked dominant. I think Matz was in control all evening long. Glasnow, after that rough first inning, he dialed it down. He did give up the home run to Grichuk in the, I believe it was the sixth inning, I think. But other than that, I don't think we got a hit outside of that first inning. I think we had one walk. Vladdy walked against him, I remember. Other than that, he settled in. He settled in for sure. Am I concerned about the streaky bats? The short answer is no, because it is relatively early and the whole lineup isn't there. But I have noticed it's been a trend. It's not just yesterday with Glasnow, but even against the Red Sox, the game before that.
And not against these aces. I can take it when we're up against Gerrit Cole or someone like Glasnow. You can kind of sit there and go, okay, we're up against. There's no point us beating up like Richards the other day. Like we smacked him all over the place. I'm surprised he stayed in as long as he did.
Yeah.
But they're kind of one-offs, and I feel like it doesn't matter who the pitcher is. If one player doesn't turn up, they all don't turn up. And we had a good inning. We won the game. And I don't want to spend too much time talking about negatives. It's more of an observation. And is this something that we're going to have to watch out for as we go further into the season?
I think once Springer and Teoscar come back, and not only do they come back, but they come back and they hit their stride, because Springer tomorrow or whenever he plays tonight, hopefully as soon as possible, that's going to be his first game of the year. You can't magnify, the first few games. You got to give it at least a few weeks. I think once the full lineup hits their stride and it's just still going on, that's when you can kind of raise the red flag and be concerned about it. But I think until you get those guys back, you just got to wait for your full roster, because Teoscar Hernandez was a Silver Slugger last year and an OPS north of 900. George Springer, a 5-6 win player. Those are big contributors who are going to be back in the lineup. So when they come back, you should have better results for sure.
I should have better results.
Well, no, I mean like the team.
Why? Thank you. I get it. I just there's certain things that I notice, and I probably watch the game a lot differently to most North Americans, probably because I wasn't brought up with baseball. Yeah. I started watching baseball from the age of, I would have been 10 when I first came. So I came to my first trip to Toronto was 86. First game was at the X. And that's kind of when I started, but I didn't really learn baseball till I was like 13, 14 when I came again. I'd been a few times. I've been to Canada, I don't know, 30 times.
Okay.
Maybe more. But so what's your take? I've been asking everyone the same thing. What's your take on the Jays as a whole from what we've seen so far? I'm cool. I'm like 19 games in. If we're 9 and 10, we're just short of 500, which is where we need to be at the moment, considering how many players we've lost through injury. What's your take? Where do you think we are at the moment?
Yeah, well, initially when the season started, I looked at the schedule, and you play a lot of good teams early on. You play, obviously, the Yankees. They haven't been great to start the season, but we know that there's going to be some positive progression from them. They're not as bad as that they've shown so far, so they're a quality opponent for sure, especially division rivals. You play the Rays, who are fresh off a pennant. Look at the other teams. The Royals have played well. The Red Sox have gotten off to a hot start. You play the Braves, I think, next week, if I'm not mistaken, the Nationals. So you're playing some good quality of opponents, and especially when you don't have your full roster. To me, I thought that the first 30 so games of the year, if you can just hover around 500, you'll be okay. you'll be okay because the schedule kind of softens up a little towards the middle. And right now, that's where they're at 9 and 10. You're getting some of your big bats back. You're getting some relievers back. I think as of right now, where they are on April 24th, you can live with it. 9 and 10, that's okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't see anything wrong. Like obviously, I'm trying to promote the podcast as much as I possibly can. Obviously, Instagram's building slowly. YouTube is hard work, but it will get there. Facebook is a different animal all on its own. So I found loads of groups. There's groups that have got 50,000 likes or whatever, 20,000. So I've been posting in there, and I've been reading some of the stuff. The amount of negativity that comes towards a Toronto-based sports team is unreal. Like, it's anything. Like, if I don't know, if they changed the colour of the blue in Blue Jays slightly to a point that you couldn't even really notice it, but they told you they changed the colour, somebody would moan about it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I feel like I'm not familiar with the Facebook community. I think that's the only platform that I'm not on. We're trying to start the YouTube thing up a bit early in the year, but yeah, Facebook, I'm not entirely familiar with it. I feel like that's just social media in general. You know, people love to complain, and when things are going well, you notice that there's not as much positivity as there is negativity when things aren't going so well. So I feel like that's just kind of the give and takes that it comes with social media, not knowing your identity. A lot of people, they hide behind an Avi or a fake profile picture, and they get to say a lot of this stuff. That has a lot to do with it. I feel like you just, at that point, it comes with it. I've gotten used to it through Twitter and Instagram and all these platforms.
I'm guessing that you watch most of the games on TV.
Yep.
Do you or did you ever used to listen to the radio commentary?
Rarely. Usually when I'm out of the house and driving somewhere, and I turn the radio on. That's kind of the only times. There are times where, for whatever reason, specifically in the playoffs, when you don't get the home broadcast, you gotta get the national broadcast and national guys from TBS or Fox or whatever. You can kind of sync up the radio to your TV. But in terms of the radio, other side when I'm not in front of a TV, that's kind of the only times when I listen to it. How about yourself?
The only reason I asked is because obviously, like, maybe not so much now, but before I used to listen to the radio quite a bit, and they were talking in the chat last night about how the radio broadcasts are now the same as the TV broadcasts. What's your take on Rogers in general? Because like I know people that have worked for Rogers. I know people that are kind of involved a little bit. What's your take on them as owners? And there's a reason why I'm asking this, but I'll bring it up after. Just want to get your thoughts, really.
It's always tough when you have a corporation owning a team as opposed to an individual. You look at the Mets this offseason. Steve Cohen comes in. He gives Francisco Lindor $325 million contract, and you just sit back and think, yeah, that's never going to happen here. That's never going to happen with Rogers. It's unfortunate because, unfortunately, baseball, it's not a salary cap sport. They completely take advantage of the capitalist society where you pay as much money for a player as you want. It's not like the NBA where, the maximum amount of money that I'm legally allowed to give you by league rules, here it is, take it or leave it. Baseball, a lot more negotiation and a lot more tactics going on, players signing a lot later. And unfortunately, we don't have an owner who's there and willing to dish out as much money as, say, a corporation like Rogers. It makes it tough to attract free agents. Obviously, now is not the best time to complain about it. We just had 2 straight off seasons where we signed, a Cy Young finalist, and then next off season, the biggest free agent out there, arguably. So the last couple off seasons have been good, but for the most part, when you're owned by a corporation instead of an individual, it gets kind of tough at times.
Okay, so I don't know if you've been following what's been going on in Europe. So a lot of the big soccer clubs have they announced this Super League, and a lot of it. I'm going to be blatantly honest when I talk. I'm a big football fan. I didn't like what I saw. It's all to do with money. It's not to do with anything else. But it was more to do with the disconnect from the owners to the fans, because with surely without the fans you can't run a successful
Of course.
team. I don't see how that's possible. You have to rely on the gate receipts, merchandise, all that kind of stuff. And if everyone basically turned around and stuck two fingers up and said, I'm not supporting your team anymore, you'd have a problem. And I just wondered whether, like, what they tried to do is they basically tried to say, we aren't going to basically follow any of the rules anymore. We're going to create our own league. We're just going to play each other. So you basically Barcelona, Real Madrid,
Yeah.
Liverpool, Man United, all these big clubs just playing against each other all the time. Now, in theory, it sounds great.
Yeah.
The problem is that after a while, surely that's going to get boring. Isn't that what sport's about? So the reason I'm bringing it up is because even though baseball is a closed shop,
Yeah.
there's no relegation, there's no promotion. It's like these are the teams. However, there are some really bad teams and some really good teams and some teams in the middle, but they all play against each other.
Yeah.
So where I'm trying to go with this is that do we think that eventually that some of these bigger teams might think, well, hang on a second, like we because it must be to do with TV rights and all of that kind of stuff. Do teams like the Yankees and the Cubs and like all these teams with loads of history go, actually, we don't really want to play Baltimore because Baltimore's Baltimore and they kind of suck, and we don't really want to go to Tampa Bay because nobody ever goes there. Like, and just you end up with that they create the MLB Super League where it's only the big teams play. Do you think that's something that would ever happen, or is that just like is that ridiculous? Only because they've tried doing that with soccer. Bearing in mind they announced this on whatever day it was, and 2 days later all of the teams had pulled out.
No, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon in baseball. I think a big reason why is because the teams itself, you talk about, oh, we don't want to play a bad team, but in reality, the whole point of the game is to win. And the way you win games is by beating opponents. And if you're facing inferior opponents, why would you complain about that? Why wouldn't you just go out, beat them, pad your stats, inflate your record, and ultimately put yourself in a better position to win the World Series? I'm just not sure why. Maybe the league itself could possibly see that down the line, but the teams, I'm not sure why they would be against playing a bad team and possibly getting as many wins as possible.
Yeah, no, it's been crazy over here. There's been protests. There's been fans breaking into training grounds to shout at, like, it's totally gone mad over here. And it kind of out of the blue, no one was really expecting it, and then they just announced this big thing, and it was just like two very, very different. And the reason why I'm asking is because obviously the Red Sox the owners of the Red Sox is the same owners of Liverpool.
Yep, heard about
And
that.
they were one of they were one of Fenway Sports, and they were one of the teams involved in this. So I just thought, like, where's the mentality? And then it goes to the disconnect with fans. Like, I felt that Rodgers had a huge disconnect with fans by pulling the radio broadcasts. Not everyone can afford cable TV.
Yeah, that's fair.
Not everyone can afford to go. You probably can't even go to the pub to watch the games at the moment, can you?
No, we're all in
With
lockdown here.
and stuff.
Yep.
So I just felt that, like, you take away a core part. Like, I love listening to the broadcast. I was a huge Mike Wilner fan.
Me too.
A lot of people didn't like him, but I used to like his opinion. And for me, he used to say it how it was. The games were always called really well. I just don't know if I want to listen to Buck and Pat saying, oh, look at that, if I'm listening on the radio and you can't see it. So I just felt that sometimes within sport, this is more of a sporting thing than it is a Blue Jays thing, where the owners just, they don't get the fans and they don't understand the fans. And obviously, there's been a lot of negativity towards Atkins and Shapiro, but even through the start of this season, where they've probably been pulling their hair out because, like, literally it was like dominoes. One person would go down, then the next day it'd be two people going down. Like, our injury list was so long at one point. It's good to see that they're coming back now, but I think with all the work that they've done behind the scenes, we're one game off 500, and I think that's great.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you. Like I said, all the injuries plus a tough schedule. If you can just keep your head above water or two waters levels, you'd be okay because the schedule gets a little easier, as I mentioned. But wanted to ask you, lately I've been home, nowhere really to go with the lockdown and everything. I've watched every game that I've watched this year has been on TV. What's the experience like watching it on the radio, having kind of a synced broadcast both between TV and radio? Like, what's it like?
Okay, so okay, so legally, I have MLB.com
Okay.
and I can access that on my phone, on my Fire Stick, Apple TV, on my whatever, so I can watch wherever. I have an app on my Fire Stick that allows me to watch the Sportsnet broadcast, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like to see this because sometimes they don't show the little bits in between on MLB.com. It will always cut to the same adverts over and over again. And trust me, MLB, it drives me crazy. Please stop. Show something else. Put on some like nursery rhymes or something, anything. But seeing these clips over and over and over again, like it's annoying. I can't get my head around that. So radio. So bearing in mind, I'm a fan from the UK
Yeah.
that has really only been watching baseball, like as in seriously watching it, since I was about the age of 19, 20. So we're talking about 20 years now.
Yeah.
Still longer than you have been alive, but anyway, so originally I'd only really listen to it on the radio because there was no internet and stuff like that. So it was like I had no choice. And I explained to everyone that how I used to get the scores. There'd be a tiny little thing in the newspaper. It'd be all the things would be football, cricket, rugby, whatever. And then tiny little bit at the bottom of the screen, there would be American League scores. And it would just have the scores. And then it would say National League scores. And that was it. That was the only way I could keep track with what was happening in the baseball. And then obviously I'd come to Canada, catch up. I'd be out there for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I think one summer I came out for 6 weeks. And yeah, and I would then catch up as much as I possibly could with everything that was going on, and then come home and then back to the little newspaper clips. But obviously now with the internet, it's easier to watch. But like, it's difficult because we're 5 hours ahead of you guys. So the games that start normally around 7 p.m. your time. For me, it's midnight.
Yeah. That's tough.
It's a hard crack. West Coast, even worse. You're starting at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's finishing at 6 o'clock in the morning. The best one was we played the Angels about, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, and it was rain delayed. And it was rain
In
delayed
LA.
for a few hours. Yeah.
Yes, I remember that one. Yep.
It was rain delayed. I woke up, the game was still on. That's how late it was, that the game was still playing when I got up in the morning. And I was like, man, yeah, I'm glad I didn't stay up for that. And I can't even remember if we won or lost. I think we may have won, actually.
We did. It ended at 4:30 in the morning my time, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that shows you. Yeah, it's just nuts. Like, so what? Like, so is your question in regards to what's it like listening on the radio, or is it like, because you have the option to select whether you want the radio commentary or the TV commentary on the TV, but you can't do that now because the radio commentary is the TV commentary, if that makes sense.
Okay. Mostly I was just asking, when you listen to it on the radio, how different is it compared to the previous years of listening on the radio, the overall experience?
Now, okay, so I've tried to listen to the TV broadcast on the radio now. I tried it the other day, and it drove me insane.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Like, and it's no disrespect to the TV guys. The TV announcers announce the games really well when you're watching the TV. There's something about radio. It's big. Obviously my background's music, and with music and sound, you have to try and paint pictures with sound.
Yeah.
So you do that with the commentary, and it's about how you project yourself and how you come across and how you describe things for people that can't see it. Imagine trying to watch a game on TV and close your eyes, literally sit in front of the TV, close your eyes for the whole inning and try and imagine what's going on with the TV broadcast.
Yeah, it's tough.
because
It's hard.
because there's things that you will think has happened, and when you actually rewind it and then you watch it again with your eyes open, you'll be like, that's not what they said. That's not, or that doesn't feel like, because there's a certain way of doing it when you're watching TV, and there's a certain way of doing it when you're listening on the radio. And I think the radio guys didn't get enough credit, and I'm sad to see them go. I think they did a really good job. They did a really good job last year, considering all of the COVID stuff that's been going on. It's been really difficult to try and create a product regardless of what it is. So for me, it's a shame, and it is what it is now. Now I won't listen to the radio. I can't listen to Jay's talk because it's fake. This is the real Jay's talk.
Yeah.
The one that's on the Fan 590, that's a fake. None of them are called Jay. I'm Jay. They're not. And I can't listen to Goldberg and I can't listen to Barker. They drive me nuts. They come on and everything's negative, and I can't do it. So I've stopped listening now. How
about a Baseball Central? Do you ever catch that?
I try. Yeah, I try and watch that. Them guys are great.
Yeah,
they're great. I don't watch it as often as I probably should, but that's only because I have the MLB app on my phone, and I literally sit there and I'll watch like the condensed game. It'll be like 10-15 minutes, and then if there's something in there that I want to watch like properly, I'll just go into the app, click on the game, put it to where I need to put it, 3rd inning, 4th inning, 5th inning, whatever, and I'll just watch what I need to. So I've always got I can get as much information as I want. And then obviously, because they have all of the stats are on the app as well, everything's literally in the palm of your hand now. It's great.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. It's kind of a unique experience now that you're telling me, because, I've always kind of been used to, turn on the TV, you have the game, and when it starts, you watch, when it ends, you do something else. But I've never really had to kind of work around different ways of watching the game and kind of listen on the radio when you don't have accessibility. So it's definitely a unique experience that we kind of take for granted here in North America.
We go back, I reckon it was around about 2007, 2008, and I didn't have MLB.com. I'm not even sure if you could get it in the UK, and it would be like a legal streaming site, but obviously the internet's grown over the last 10, 15 years. Like we're talking, say 2007, 2008, and I'd be online. I'd spend an hour trying to find a way of watching the game.
Okay.
And I'd get it, and it would be some Chinese like site where I'd be streaming it from, and it would buffer every 30 seconds. But that was my life back then, because I love sport. I love sport in general. But I love football and I love baseball. I like watching the Raps. Would I watch anyone else playing basketball? Probably not. But I'm very, if I support a team, I'm in it for the long haul. And if we suck, we're gonna suck together. And if we win, then we all party together as well. That's kind of my philosophy. Like my football team, they suck. They're not the worst team in the Premier League, but
who do you root for?
I'm a Crystal Palace fan. Shh, but don't tell anyone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you've even heard of them.
No, I have. I don't really follow soccer or football, like you say, but I do know teams. The highlights are on every morning, and you just see at the bottom the scores. So I'm familiar. I know enough about sports where it carry over even to the sports I don't necessarily follow as much. But yeah, I know Crystal Palace.
So why don't you tell? Like, obviously we've got you on. Like, I have to say, massive thanks for coming on today. Like, one of the hosts of Blue Jay Centre, one of the first Instagram accounts I actually followed from the Jay's Talk with Jay account. I went through it, looked, saw how many followers they had, and I was like, these guys seem like they're pretty cool. And obviously I've been watching every day, and the content's great. Like,
I really appreciate it.
All of the updates, like injury updates, squad updates, if people have been dropped down or they've been brought up, or like all of the information's there, which is great. But you guys hosting it, I've been really impressed. You've had some past players on. You've had I haven't been following long enough to see how far you go with this, but what's it like to be on there, like speaking to some of these players, like people in the know?
Yeah, it's actually really cool. I mean, we started Blue Jay Center. I founded it in 2014. And eventually, as the years went by, I got more people on. Mo, he's kind of the guy who runs the account right now. he's been taking over. He's the one who you interact with and posting the stories every day. And then what we kind of figured out was we do the podcast like everyone does, but in order to kind of get an edge on all the other content creators, we want to do something special in terms of making post-game streams after every game where a panel of 3 or 4 people would get on and we would just talk about the games every day. So we would host we hosted some interviews in February. We had a lot of people were interested. We conducted, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 2 weeks filled with interviews, and we ultimately settled on 10 guests. Sheldon, as you know, he was on your show. He was one of them. Steve, who's coming on.
He's like, Sheldon is brilliant. Like, I have to say,
Yeah.
I speak a lot about sports to a lot of people.
Yeah.
He knows his stuff, man. He blows me away sometimes. I can sit here and listen to him for ages.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's one of the guys that we really liked. Steve, he'll talk to, I believe, on Monday. He's another guy who, he'll have a lot to say.
You just blown my cover, man. I didn't tell anyone that Steve.
Oh my, I'm sorry. My bad. I didn't get that out in the back end, but for sure, we really enjoy doing it. As the season grows, we anticipate to grow a lot more as well, and we have a lot of fun, and we're happy that you and a lot of other people take pleasure in listening to our content.
Yeah, it's good, Matt. Like, what's good for me is that I might be able to stay up and watch live on. I think the Insta lives straight after the game is great. Not just for you guys that are on there. Win, lose. I was going to say draw, but there's no draw. But win or lose, people have their opinions, and it's a good way to get it out, get it over and done with, and go to sleep.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse, right? There's nothing worse than you watch a game and you're hyped because you won, but you can't let that hype out anywhere because it's 11 o'clock at night and the rest of the family's asleep. And if you start shouting around or you pick the phone up to call your buddy or whatever, you're going to wake someone up and you're going to get a slap from your wife. It's me. So I wouldn't do it. So you wouldn't do it, but like you can just write a little something in the chat along with the lines what you guys are talking about. And like I've been really impressed with. I think it's like obviously you're on there hosting. Steve, Cole. I think Cole as one of the guests. I think he's pretty cool.
Yep.
I like his stuff. And she's been good. She's kind of nice and bubbly and. There should be more women in baseball. Do you know, I've been looking at my stats for the podcast. I finally had a female listener. That's right, guys. You've heard it here first. Someone out there who is female has listened. You might think that's crazy, but I've been looking into the stats. And the age group's been very, very narrow, who I've been hitting. And my target audience is everyone.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're 4 years old or you're 400 years old. I want people to get involved, and I want people to be like, this guy's cool. It's not all numbers, because there's too many places where you can go and you want to throw stats at me. That's great, but it doesn't get to the crux of a lot of the problems. And say the guys that have been on there, the guests that all seem knowledgeable. It's Clint. Matt was on yesterday. I think he's cool. And what I thought was really cool was yesterday you had some fans dropping in, and that's great. It just gives these people a bit of an out, like they've got somewhere to go.
Yeah.
And if it's good, they can shout about it, and if it's rubbish, they can vent about it. And it's somewhere where everyone's gonna kind of like be like, yeah, man, I get why he's feeling like or she's feeling like that.
Yeah, we tried the whole fan. We're gonna do that every Friday, by the way. So if you ever want to drop in, obviously time permitting. I know that late Fridays might be a little tough for you.
3 in the morning. 3 in the morning.
We'd love to have you on if you're ever up at that time for whatever reason. We tried doing the fan thing. Unfortunately, James, who was hosting yesterday, he mentioned that he had a lot of requests coming in. Unfortunately, Instagram Live for some reason just didn't want to cooperate with us. We've had some technical difficulties.
You've had issues with that though. I think like Instagram is trying to stop your content, like because it happened to Steve on
Trivia Night.
Trivia Night. Yeah. By the way, I would have won that. Yeah, just for the record, if I was on that, I would have won it. I think I got 2 wrong out of the whole thing. I've been really impressed. There's a whole load of Blue Jays content out there, especially on Instagram. Like everyone has got an account, but you guys really seem to be doing it. How do you go and get some of these names that you've had on? I've seen interviews with some of these players, and I'm like, that's making moves. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think well, a big part of it is because early on when we were building, we've had a lot of rapport with these guys. Dalton Pompey, he's one of the first guys that we talked to a long time ago, so we've always kind of been in touch with him. But in terms of the guys, it's just as simple as sending a message. I think a lot of players, they see their DMs and they kind of filter through them. Obviously, if they see fans saying naughty stuff to them or rude stuff, they're not gonna respond. Maybe the odd time when they get a positive response, they'll respond back. But when they see that they have a chance to come on a platform and interact with fans, because as players, they are, they're in an industry that's fan driven. If fans aren't interested in watching baseball and interested in interacting with players and all that stuff, then it's going to affect them financially, because fans are what ends up making up their salary. So I think the fact that they want to interact with fans and get to know people better, that's a big part of it. We just simply DM a whole group of people, and whoever responds, we'll get them on for sure.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that personal thing. If you show that you're accessible and you're not scared, like, it means that the fans can relate to you a bit more. That's it. Who's your favourite that you've had on?
The favorite that I've had on, Devin Travis was great. He was really good with us. He just flat out cooperated with everything. We said that what time works best for us. He cooperated with it perfectly. Pompey, I was on for that one actually. I'm not on for most of them, but that one was really good. He was really good interview. He had a lot of stuff to say, especially about that the Kansas City game 6 of the ALCS stealing 2 bases. That was a lot of fun. Anthony Alford was also really good when we had him on the podcast, not on the live, but that was an exciting one as well. We've had a lot of great guests, really.
So who is your favourite contributor? You must have one that you must think, that's my girl or that's my guy. Like,
God.
Who's your pick?
Oh, you can't make me do this, man. I can't.
I am, and I can.
Oh gosh. Oh geez. They've all been great, really. We've interviewed every single one of them. We all thought that they had some potential, and when we brought them on, we like the returns that we've brought from all of them. And I'm not sure. I can't play favorites. Top of the chain, kind of the person who's founding it. They've all been great. I've been really impressed with all of them, really.
Chicken. I knew I wouldn't get an
I'll
answer.
wear the hat
I'd see how I put you under the pressure to see if I got an answer off you or not. What are your expectations over the next couple of weeks? Where do you see us by the time we get to sort of like mid-May?
Okay, so right now we have this race series that if we can get a win in this series, that'd be huge, because winning a series at the Trop, we talked about it earlier, it's fantastic. We have Ray pitching tonight. I know the first start was solid against the Yankees. Last start, he kind of was throwing balls into different time zones, but ultimately 5-inning shutout, we'll take it. Rio on Sunday, so if we can get one of these next two, you'd be happy with that. Nationals, they come in for a 2-game series. Obviously, depends. I'm not sure the pitching matchups are out quite yet, but if we can avoid Scherzer, that'd be a huge win. And then after that, I think, was it the Braves who come to town? I'm not entirely sure. They're tough. I feel like just get our guys back, and then we'll see how it goes. It's a tough schedule. This schedule kind of extends into the early to mid part of May. So, again, if we can stay 500 for the next few weeks and then kind of hit the ground running, exceed that 500 barrier when the schedule gets a little more favorable, when teams like the Orioles come to town, when we play, the Marlins, that'll be huge to get some wins there.
Yeah, I was going to say we need to play some rubbish teams, but the problem is that we said that when we played Texas, and look what happened.
Yeah, that's tough. To me, I'm not sure what you think is the most disappointing loss of the year, but to me, that was the Wednesday, the rubber match of that Texas game when Ryu pitched and he gave up, I think, 2 runs the entire game. We lost 2-1. That was, in my opinion, the most disappointing loss of the year, because you got a great start from the best guy and you lose anyway.
Yeah, I think that's been our problem though, hasn't it? I think that the majority of the starting pitching, whether it be a bullpen game or one of the guys being in there, the majority of it's been okay. Like, we haven't been totally blown away. There was the one game against the Angels where it was like 7-1 before it was even done. Like, But apart from that, we've been there or thereabouts, and we've been
Competitive,
able
yeah.
to compete. But if the bats don't show up, it doesn't make the pitchers look bad, because if you look on the whole, like at the moment we've got two pitchers
Yeah.
who have been really our only two main starters, because everyone else has been injured or not in the rotation now. They're both challenging to be Cy Young winners at the minute, as it stands. As it stands. Will that be the case for the rest of the season? Who knows? Let's hope so. But if the bats don't start to pick it up, then we've got a problem.
Yeah. And I think coming into the year, the outlook on the team was kind of the opposite. It was more so, the bats, this is not top 5 offense. It's almost as if can the pitching withstand it? And right now, look at the team ERA. We're number 1 in the American League. The pitching has been fantastic. It's the offense that really hasn't, made the trip. I was going to say make the trip up north, but we're playing in the south anyway, so it doesn't really make sense. I think a big part of that has to do with the injuries. I still feel like just hold on tight when we get George Springer. He's a 6-win player for a reason. He was a World Series MVP for a reason, although, little asterisks behind that one. But just get Springer back, get Teoscar back, get some of these guys rolling, and I think this offense can still be very good, as they were coming into the year.
Okay, so a couple of quick fire questions.
Yep.
We're nearly the first month into the season. Who's been your favourite pitcher so far?
I'm gonna go with Ryu. I think to me it's Steven Matz has been outstanding, but watching Ryu pitch, it's like a work of art. A guy who doesn't throw the 99 like Glasnow yesterday or Garrett Cole, but to him, that's the true definition of pitching, knowing how to work around the corners, the soft stuff, mixing up his pitches, and just getting a whole lot of swing and miss. It's almost like watching Zach Greinke, because Greinke's never been a guy who can light up the radar gun, but his ability to switch pitches and switch speeds on his pitches so consistently and effectively, that's what's made him so effective and a future Hall of Famer. I think that's a lot more fun to watch than, maybe a guy who's just an absolute thrower, throws 99, and, that's kind of it. So I'm going to go with Ryu.
I'm just shocked you didn't go with Tanner Rourke, but anyway, we'll move on.
Shocker.
We'll move on. Okay, so pitcher, you've gone for Ryu. Me personally, it would have been Matt, only because we weren't sure what we were gonna get with him, and I've got to be honest, it would have been Merriweather if he had stayed healthy.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because like he was lights out. The games that he came in and he played, like he looked like he was unhittable. But we can't really go there because obviously he's ended up on the IL, and so. But I'm going to go Matt. But I've been really impressed. So second question, and I think this is an easier one to answer. Who's your best position player at the moment?
It's got to be Vladdy. It's OPS over 1100. He's got the raw power.
MVP.
Exactly.
MVP.
Exactly. Hits the ball the other way. He's got more walks than strikeouts, and he's got 11 strikeouts 3 weeks into the season. That's incredible.
But this is the Vladdy that we knew from playing in AA and AAA, right? We knew that the stats were in his favour. He would walk more than he was striking out. It didn't happen last year. It didn't happen the year before. But there's a big adjustment between playing small ball than there is to playing in the majors, right? And I think that he's showing maturity above his years in what he's doing this year already.
Yeah, I think also, look, for everyone that didn't think that Vladdy could be what he is now, they just clearly didn't have a close eye on it. We know that the skills were always there. The way I look at it is when you compare him to the other guys who came up in his year, whether it's Fernando Tatis, whether it's Ronald Acuna, Juan Soto, those are the kind of guys that he's been compared to. The Dominican connection is obviously there. Those guys came up, and when Tatis came up, he was sitting between Manny Machado and Eric Hosmer, two established hitters. Acuna, he came in on a pennant team that was fighting for the World Series. Soto, he won a World Series in his first full season. And Vladdy, he comes in hitting behind Rowdy Tellez and above Billy McKinney. It's like
the great. He was actually the great hope rather than slotting into a team that had loads of
exactly
high class players already.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course.
And I think a big part of it is the 2018 season. Josh Donaldson was gone. J Happ was gone. Bautista was gone. This city was just starving for a face of the franchise. And when Vladdy came up, that hope of him being the next guy, I think that's also a big pressure packer situation on him.
It made the news over here.
Yeah.
On the sports TV station that we've got over here, Sky Sports, Vladdy's debut made the news, and I don't never see baseball news on that. It's mainly all the English sports.
Yeah.
And that's how much of an impact he made. I've never seen anything like it. I sat here and watched all of the pre-game stuff, like him walking in around the dressing room, through the car park, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this kid, and there's something about him. All right, it never really happened, but we're seeing it now, and. I don't know, man. I think the sky's the limit for him. I'm gonna be honest. Like he's being patient. We know that he can hit it harder and further than anyone else.
Yeah,
we know that.
Yep.
And it's his. What's impressed me most, it's his ability to adapt. He's adapted so well when it comes to being two strikes and getting the bat on the ball with so much power that even if it looks like it's going to be fielded, like he did it yesterday, the ball that he hit to reach base to get the runs going, he hit it between the two infielders.
Yeah, that's not a tough. That's a tough pitch to hit, especially right up the middle like that.
Yeah, and for me, I was just like, wow. I was more impressed with that than the catch that the Rays guy made when he came out of nowhere. Who was it? Kiermaier standing, looking for the ball, and the bloke just came out
20 feet behind him. I saw that.
Yeah, and caught it. I was like, bloody hell! But it just shows you how difficult it is to field there, though. Bearing in mind that's it, and he's been there for years, and he lost the ball in the ceiling.
They have to just burn Tropicana down to the ground. That stadium, if the ball hits the catwalk. I think it's a certain catwalk and it falls into the field of play. It's a live ball, even when it hits the ceiling. I mean, is this professional baseball or what are we talking about here?
Yeah, you think you're right underneath it. It hits something and it literally falls by your feet.
Yeah, the guy hits the ball 110 miles per hour, hits right to the ceiling, comes down on the infield, and it's a fly out or a pop up. That's ridiculous. I hate playing that.
I'd be quite happy to not have to play them at all at their place, but then. I figured that if we're not allowed to play at Rogers Centre, they should all have to play somewhere else as well.
I feel like it'd be unfair to penalize all the 29 American teams just because the one team up north can't play there because of the restriction. I'm not sure I'm necessarily go that far, but if we can stop playing games at Tropicana,
they don't like us anyway, right? Let's face it.
As long as we can just get out of Tropicana, whatever solution, just sign me up for that, Jay, right now.
No, man. Yeah, I agree. So I predicted we would take a sweep for this series. What do you reckon?
Brave?
We won the hardest game yesterday.
We did.
We won that. But we've also managed to lose some really easy games that we should have probably won. But I'm still going with it. I think we win tonight, and I think we win tomorrow with Ryu on the mound.
I hope. I think who's pitching for the Rays tonight? Honeywell, is it? Is that his name? The prospect that just came up. We'll see what he's got. From all the Rays people, they suggest that he's pretty good. The Jays have struggled at times with pitchers that they've never seen before, so that'll be interesting. It all depends on Robbie Ray. He's very Jekyll and Hyde. He's very dominant when he's on. He's got command. He's got the good stuff, a lot of strikeout stuff. His stuff has a lot of zip, breaking balls, secondary stuff. And when he's off, like he was against Kansas City early, he's, like I said, throwing balls to different area codes, and that's going to be tough. With Ryu on the mound on Sunday against TBD, I think it's for the Rays. You like your chances there. You think
TBD's been very popular for everyone this year already.
And especially for the Rays, when they throw a bunch of openers at you, they were actually, their strategy's been the genesis of this whole opener strategy thing. So if we can get that game, that'd be huge. Today's the wild card. I think yesterday was the toughest game. If you can win today, then your chances of getting a sweep are really high. So it all depends on today.
Man, I'll tell you what, we have definitely covered a varied amount of subjects today. Rob, I'm gonna end things now. It's been a massive pleasure having you on. We will definitely do this again if you're up for it at some point
Absolutely.
within the next few weeks. I'm gonna try and get on as many people as I possibly can. Like I said, I'm trying to reach out to the Jays community in general and hopefully kind of grow this audience as much as I can. Give everyone your Instagrams and stuff so they know where to find you to follow.
Yeah, absolutely, Jay. It's been a big pleasure to be on with you, talking Blue Jays baseball. I love the stuff that you're doing here. Love that you got some of our contributors on. We definitely support what you're doing. You can follow me on my personal Instagram. I'm not sure if you'd want to, but it's at _Robert__P. And obviously, you can catch me at Blue Jays Center. We'll be going live after every game for the whole season. We're having a blast so far, and for the team expected to be an independent race, we're excited to cover it all for you guys.
Rob, as I say, a massive, massive thank you for coming on. No doubt we will speak over the weekend, especially during tonight's game and tomorrow. Guys, don't forget, as always, to hit us up on the socials. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever now. I'm as everywhere. I'm still not going to be dancing on TikTok. I refuse. It's not happening. Make sure you like, subscribe, ringing bells, follow over on YouTube, and then anywhere else you consume your podcasts, whether it be Spotify, Apple Music. Make sure you follow, subscribe everywhere else. Make sure you follow Rob and Blue Jay Centre as well. And I'll catch you hopefully on Monday for another edition of Jay's Talk with Jay.